Push is a competitive game for 2 to 6 players, and the game mechanics is push your luck. You gotta admire the simplicity of that. It's like having a worker placement game called Worker Placement. It is by the fine folks at Prospero Hall. I like most of their games. I've actually just seen that they were behind this project, was one of the reasons why I decided to try it and pick it up from my friendly local game store. It is definitely a simple filler, but it can work while you're waiting for some of your friends to show up as a warm-up game. And yes, it does still flow well even at 6. A little slow maybe, but actually there are a couple of interesting tricks in here that still give you reasons to be interested even at 6 players, while you are still gonna go one at a time, so you're still gonna be the active player only once every 6 turns, but the other 5 turns there are interesting things going on, as you will see. The game comes with this die, and the sides of the die correspond to suits on the card here. As you can see, the suits are colored both by shape and by color, as it should be. And then we have 2 kinds of special cards. This one, which, don't be fooled by the cute little, by the graphics. This is a very bad card. And then you have another card here, the U-Tort. I know, like, memories of Uno. But don't worry, this game is not like Uno. About this card, it looks very pretty. It's really bad if you have it, but I have a complaint about it production-wise. It is, the front of the card is just too similar to the back. As you're going to the cards, from time to time it happened to me that I saw one of these. I thought it was the back, and then I turned it this way, so now that was facing the wrong direction. And then I see this, and I think, oh, some cards are... And I get really confusing. It's just a bit annoying. Cannot believe that, it's a good design. Everything looks good. Why they have to to make the front and the back so similar? Push is a game in which you push your luck. Players will take turns being the active player. When you are the active player, you start drawing cards from the deck, and you place them in up to 3 groups. You can stop, and then you will collect one of the groups that you have created, up to 3, and the other ones, like maybe 1 or 2 of those, will go to the other players in clockwise order, unless you drew this card, in which case the other groups of cards, stacks of cards, are assigned in the opposite direction. But this only changes the order, the direction in which the extra stacks are assigned. Does not change the way in which, the direction in which we play. So I go, the next player goes, etc., etc., etc. So see, this is a clever thing, because as these groups are formed, and later I'll give you more detail about how that works. As these things happen, the players will want to pay attention to what happens, because, well, I may end up with one of these. Meaning also that I may be trying to give recommendations to the active player, basically I'm manipulating them, as if I are trying to, into stopping or continuing when it's most advantageous to me. Now that means that even at 6 players, if this player is going, the next 2 players are going to be interested in what's going on. And since this card may come out at any time, then these other 2 players may be interested. Oh, but another one came out, so now these are 2 interested again. Well, no, another one, these are the 2. So as you can see, even at 6, 5 players are going to be potentially interested in paying real attention to what's happening. The 6 is just, getting a drink and stretching their legs and getting some snacks. As you draw cards and you add them to your groups, you must make sure that there are no repeats, meaning a stack cannot have a repeat in terms of colors or numbers. And if you draw a card, and because of that simple rule you cannot place in any of your stacks, then you go busted. Suppose, for example, that I decided to stop. I would probably stop right here, because I don't think I made any mistake. I don't see any repeating color or in numbers. So if you stop, of your own volition, you get the stack with the highest total value in terms of numbers printed on it. So there'll be 12. And when you get your cards, you place them in your play area and you divide them by color, and later you will add to that by color. And then the next two players, clockwise usually or counterclockwise, will get these other stacks. If somebody, and again, same thing, they will place them by color in front of themselves. But if they got this one, they roll the die. And if they roll a symbol of that they have, then they lose all of the cards of that denomination. For example, I rolled that one and I lose this one. Right now I only have one. Doesn't matter how many I had. If I got this card and I roll that symbol, I lose all of those of that kind. So that can be pretty tough. Now you always have a little bit of hope because the star means you're fine, you don't lose anything, but it can be pretty devastating. What happens, however, if during the preparation phase, the active player got too greedy, they went busted, they couldn't place a card, then there will be usually 3 stacks if that's the case, and the active player then doesn't get any cards, rolls the dice again against their own collection as a penalty, and then the next 3 players will go. Actually, that makes me think, I just realized that. Even with 6 players, the 6th player may be there crossing fingers that the active player goes busted because they may get something. However, maybe they get the sucky stack that only has this one. So they're still interesting because they want to see if they're getting something good and they're hoping not to get the sucky card that makes you lose stuff. Later in the game, you may have some really significant stacks of a card of a kind, and you really don't want to lose it. When that is the case, you can choose during your turn, instead of taking your standard turn, to bank. So instead of taking your standard turn, drawing cards and making stacks, you choose one of your colors and you turn all the cards of that color face down, and those are safe. They cannot be attacked by these cards anymore. The game continues until the deck is exhausted. At that point, players add the total value of all their cards, and the player with the highest total wins the game. So it is a very simple. This is a very simple game for sure. But it's fun. As a filler, I really enjoyed it. I played it with 6 players, I played it with 4 players, and I think it's gonna be a filler that I'm gonna recommend to my friends at game nights in the next couple of events. Because it's simple, it's fun, and there's a lot more going on than you see at first sight. And really what is interesting to me may not be the depth of the strategy, but the richness of the diplomacy, because it really is about, hey, are you sure you want to do that? Oh my gosh, should you do that? Yeah, go ahead, come on, risk it. Oh, you can do it, it's not as likely. I just found that I spend most of my time trying to influence my friends. Of course, completely with my own interest in mind only. I'm kind of shocked that from time to time my friends still follow my advice. Like, they really must like me. And maybe sometimes accidentally I even give them good advice, although I swear that is never my intention. It's a competitive game. Why should I try to actually help you? So, it's a very simple game with some interesting, exciting moments. This idea of the rewards being assigned around the table in a variable orientation made it surprisingly interesting, even though at 6 players, I play maybe like 3 times. I didn't play very often, but I was engaged and involved most of the time because at the very least, I wanted to see what happened. And most of the time, I was trying to take an active role as a with my non-required, non-requested advice. So, Push is simple, it's colorful. I wish the graphics of this kind of card here was more different from the back than it is. But for such a simple game, very portable, it's pretty fun. It works well at game night with my adult friends. I don't know that I would want to play with my family because despite the fact that, hey, there is shared loot, In truth, I'm trying to get my friends settled with the stinkers, and I'm trying to have one good stack that doesn't have that. And I'm just hoping that people go busted. It's, in other words, I'm trying to say, beautiful and colorful, but it can be a bit mean. It can be a bit confrontational. At least in my family members don't like that kind of the style of game so much. So better for a game that we met our friends, because we can take that. So Push, very simple, very light, but for a filler, surprisingly enjoyable.